Hi guys, welcome to Laughing with Lana, the sexiest comedian in Las Vegas who roasts some dicks, makes fun of tricks, and shows off these tits. Not today, because I got some Christian people in here, and I'm a little scared right now, because I feel like I'm going to offend somebody. But I do have the lovely Coco, who's dressed so cute all the fucking time. Okay, last time she looked like a fucking Barbie. You need to bring that outfit back. Oh, my God.
I actually was almost considering wearing that. I was like, maybe I should wear my Barbie outfit.
Oh, my God, I would have died. It was so
movie.
cute. But she, but you look super cute today. This is Coco, guys. This is Coco. Oh, my God, I didn't get you guys' names. Oh, my God, literally, we've been talking this whole time. I didn't get your guys' names.
God is always watching.
I know. God hates me right now.
No, he doesn't. He loves you. I'm Joe Creation.
Joe
with the Iron Disciples podcast.
Yes.
Yes.
And Mike Mulvaney.
Mike Mulvaney from the Iron Disciples. You guys have a podcast where you guys talk about basically the real side of the red pill.
The original
red pill
you could say that, yeah.
Movement, I guess you can say. Do you guys like cause I was just on Michael Sartain's podcast, Access Vegas, because I know you're on it. You've seen it. They kind of like sit there and kind of attack women. I don't want to say they attack women, but they have this made up theory of what the hell a traditional woman is.
Talk about it.
I hate it. That's what I want to say.
What is your impression that they think a traditional woman is?
Everything that's made up that is, I feel like they take a little bit of every single religion that makes sense to them to do all of the bad shit that they are doing. Like sleeping with multiple women at the same time.
Yeah.
And then they're saying like, oh, but if you ask this religion, like Mormons or something like that, then having 4 wives is regular. And I'm like, that's having 4 fucking wives. But the wives don't fuck each other, motherfucker, so what the fuck?
We call that amorphous. It's where you
Amorphous.
It's where you take little pieces of different religions, and this is kind of what the New Age movement does as well. They'll take a little piece of Hinduism, a little piece of Buddhism, a little piece of Eastern philosophy of Taoism, and they'll kind of just make this amorphous, like, blob of what fits their agenda at the time. And that is the opposite from what us Christians do. We're fundamentalists. So we're not going to say, hey, women are going to act this way. We can have as much sex with as many women as we want, but they're going to not be able to do that. You know, this kind of double standard. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and I don't like it because...
But, like, I understand, like, obviously the males double standard problem, but what is your impression that they, like, think the traditional women, like, the features or the traits would be?
Oh, well, I mean, the way that they make it seem as if you have to be between the ages of, like, 18 and 22 to be perfect. You have to be, like, the smallest little frame. You have to be dumb as fuck because you have to, like, not know what the fuck is going on and what they're doing.
You have to be bisexual.
You have to be bisexual. And you have to...
And not a fake bisexual, because remember they talked about that? Oh. Some of the girls got heated when they were like, not these fake girls that pretend like they like it just because they know it pleases their man. They need to be real bisexual.
I was going to say, that kind of bothers me too, though, because I'm a real bisexual. Like, I was in a relationship with a woman a few times. I actually enjoy being with women. And then there's girls like, I don't even want to say his name like that, but I'm like, Michael Sartain's girlfriend, I wouldn't consider her bisexual. She's just a girl that fucks other girls for her dude. I'm like, you fit the role. I feel like you fit the role because I don't want to call her a sugar baby, but that's how I feel like she's fitting the role. Like she has a boyfriend who she has to please, and I feel like if she wasn't with him, would she actually be with a woman? No.
That's actually a good question.
I think a lot of women will mold themselves to what a guy like him wants.
Yeah. And, because he has a lot to offer.
Yeah.
Like
does he?
No.
What kind of a high quality woman really wants a man like that? That's the question.
Exactly.
None. And that's what they consider. They say if you have a high quality man or you have a high status man, they want a woman that fits a certain standard, and it's not a woman that knows what the fuck she's doing. Like a woman who's educated, a woman who's older, a woman who has lived her life and knows that what he's doing is not okay in a sense. Like, it's not that it's not okay, but sleeping with multiple women and demanding that as like a standard or as like a standard in the relationship. Part of their agreement.
Yeah.
Because it's not a marriage, obviously.
It's not.
That's not what's going on.
Like, don't get me wrong, I would love to fuck girls with my dude too. I'm not traditional though, but I don't sit here and claim to be traditional and that I want a traditional man. But at the same time, like, I'm like, if I marry my dude, I'm gonna be like, if I know that you're mine, we could fuck other bitches together. I'm like, okay, we might, because I like bitches too. Like, excuse me, women. I like other women too. So I'm like, to share that experience with my husband, I'd be okay with it. But to share it with your girlfriend, I'm like, you guys aren't even married. You guys don't have kids. There's no real commitment. You guys think that just because that's your girlfriend, it's a commitment. Oh, so now part of my standards is you got to do this. You have to be fit. You have to have fake boobs. You have to have that. Like, to them, like, a high status woman is a really low quality bitch.
Well, marriage is a union between two people, and it's founded on monogamy. That is and is for the procreation to have kids.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And to bring up the best possible quality offspring that you can that's going to produce the longest legacy. So we talk about in the Bible, it's your kids. You're responsible for a legacy for your kids' kids. You're thinking that far ahead.
Right.
You're not thinking just about your kids. You think about, what about my grandkids? What about my great-great-great-grandkids, right? It's legacy-oriented. And when you think about like monogamy and what that means, those kids are going to identify their next relationship on what their parents are. So you want to present them the best type of relationship possible.
Yeah.
What do you
I'm
guys
curious, Coco, your description of what a traditional woman would be.
Well,
She's like me.
no, because I mean, there's still stuff that I need to grow with myself. Like, one thing is that I know that I need to, I want to learn more and be more proficient with my faith as far as like the knowledge of it and understanding it, because it's good because, like, as we were speaking the other day, like, and I think, actually I think it was your brother, that it was nice that I go and talk to my husband when I have questions.
Yes, yes.
And they're like, because, you know, he is supposed to teach you these things. Like, he is the man of the house. You're supposed to be the person
leader.
that
Like
goes
a
to him.
leader, exactly.
Yeah. And so I go to him with these questions because I am going to school for religious studies, but there's still a lot of things that I don't quite understand, because he calls it from an anecdotal perspective. It's where, because it's like, I don't see that view. Like, when he talked about recently that, if a woman is to step outside the marriage, it's considered adultery. But if a man doesn't, it's considered something different. And I was like, I don't agree with that, because...
He uses the term, I believe, whoremongering.
Yes, exactly. And I'm like, I don't necessarily agree with that, because it makes it seem like it's just not as important.
What's that? Wait, the Mexican don't understand these words. What was that?
I don't know what that
So
word
it's like a
means.
man
You
could
just-
cheat, but a woman can't?
No, it's still
No,
it's just a different term. Like, if you look at the biblical definition of adultery, it's a man sleeping with a married woman. And so you really see in the Bible like this protection around the married woman, basically. Because I think, like, especially back then, you know, like, one thing Red Pill always talks about is why men like women with lower body counts and stuff is because of paternity. And so, especially until recently, until recently we were able to know who's the father, but back then you had no idea. So if you have, if the woman's stepping out or whatever, you have no idea whose kids are who.
And,
like,
Yeah.
and also
And there's
think
all
the
the-
guys are going out. Usually, they have herds of animals or flocks, or they're working outside of the house. So here, the woman is at the house, and she has the opportunity more than the man does in a lot of ways to
cheat.
Sneak
cheat.
around?
Yeah, in those ways. Because I mean, he's out in the wilderness generally. That's
And
what it was.
you'll see too, like, if you read the book of Proverbs, probably like a third of that is about watching out for adulterous women.
Yes.
And he's and like that's from a king standpoint writing this, and he is warning you heavily on like women that are married that are like how they just lead you to like death in the end. Because
Right.
he warns.
Oh
too.
my God.
'Cause, like,
Well,
part of it is
well-
he warns you like the retaliation you're going to have from the husband if he finds out, it could be your death. Like,
Yeah.
that's how the, you know.
Well, it was the death of King Solomon's kingdom. King David, when he went out and had it with Bathsheba, he couldn't receive his blessing. It had to go to his son. So the idea that, okay, it's not a sin. It wasn't a sin back then. But what happened? What happened to the guys that were kings? Solomon was the wisest
He's
man
talking
in
about
the world.
polygamy wasn't a sin.
Right. But it kind of goes into the whoremongering for guys that think like, okay, we could have multiple wives if we wanted to, right? Like if polygamy isn't a sin, then why can't we have multiple wives? Why shouldn't we, right? Biblically speaking. So I don't view the Bible as a rule book for saying don't cut people off in traffic. That's a sin. Obviously, that's not in the Bible, right? It's not going to be there. However, using your rationale and looking at the stories, King Solomon, he's the wisest man on the planet, right? Smartest guy.
Right.
He's got more wealth than anybody else, right? he chooses to have a bunch of women, right? Because he was tempted by the Canaanites and by the Jews weren't even supposed to have a king to begin with. They were supposed to just be under God, right? But they're tempted by the world. They want to become like the world. They want the rich, they want the king, they want this, they want the temple, they want all this stuff to fit in. They already have God. But God's like, okay, go ahead, do this. So King Solomon goes and has all the concubines. He's got a bunch of wives. And that ends up being the downfall of King Solomon, is the women. So you think, if these guys couldn't handle it, why should I be? One woman's going to be enough. You know, it's going to be probably more than you can handle and properly lead.
Especially if she's Latina.
If you're probably going to lead. Especially if she's Latina. I have a Colombian mother, and I'm very familiar with the fire and the flames that come along with that kind of passion.
I think you can extrapolate to like just Jesus' commandment on first love God and then love your neighbors. And so like if you're viewing it as kind of the golden rule, do unto others as you would have done, like do these women want to enter in relationships where they're like competing with multiple wives?
I would never.
Fuck
no.
Absolutely not. I
there
would
you
never
go.
be with somebody
Unless I'm the
that
main one.
wanted an open relationship like that. I could never do it. I
You
believe
have
in the
built-in-
one husband, one wife, or one man, one woman, and they each play their role.
Yeah,
That
we
is
have built-in
what I believe.
biological jealousy, mate guarding tactics that are going to be flaring up all the time, especially in the women's head. Like
I get jealous when this sexy bitch hugs my husband. I do.
Fist
She'll
pound.
give him a
Got it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
From
You're
here on
you're
out,
honest
bro, it's
about
a
it,
fist
and
bump.
that's
From
good.
here on out, I ain't gonna disrespect Coco. She dressed too cute.
It's territorial. It's territorial. But it shows you God wrote the law on his hearts. He built us with a purpose. Adam and Eve were two. There was one wife, one husband, one flesh. So if you think about the two becoming one flesh, you can't really add others onto it.
Right.
Like that's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way God made it
That's
from
the
the
best
very
for
beginning.
children, and that's what
it's
this,
the best for
this
kids
delusion. We can run these relationships like polygamous, and then you're gonna have children in this environment, and they're gonna view this weird ass relationship with their parents.
We looked it up
it's
last
never,
night.
It's never gonna be polygamous like the Bible was, because you'll see in the Bible, it does state rules. Muslims have the same thing. It's like if you're gonna have multiple wives, you have to treat them all equally. And that doesn't mean like threesomes. It means separate. Like,
Yes.
if you buy one a house, you gotta buy treat
other
them
one's
all
a house,
equally.
right.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm gonna have a main girl that I'm gonna marry and then have these side girls. Like that
Yeah.
is
Right,
not.
so you're supposed
there.
to take on the
It's not.
responsibility role of the husband with each wife,
Yeah.
right?
So I
like
have
you have
a
to provide.
question.
Can you
equally.
imagine that?
That I wouldn't
Can you
want that
imagine
job.
that? Like
I
that's
What's the bandwidth
yes.
for that?
What's
So
that?
I have a question. Like, since you guys are like Christian men who believe in monogamy, do you guys believe that like the other religions are kind of like what the fuck? Like, I wouldn't say that you guys like look down on them, but like, do you believe that they're kind of like
Well, Islam,
not
like
going
most
by
of them,
what Jesus
most of
says?
them have the same views as us. Like Islam
they have
has
the same values?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, we're going to obviously state that we view Christianity as truth. We view
Right.
the other religions as like false.
Right.
But a lot of the values we see, especially family values, are very similar across the board.
Yes.
There's like even with Mormons, like they'll have multiple wives, but that's like a ostracized sect of the Mormon. Like they're not even allowed in to be considered Mormons. So there's very few. It's more outlier stuff. It's the exception, not the rule.
Yeah, even if you look at like Judaism, Israel, that was monogamy. Most all of bedrock of civilization was built on monogamous relationships. Like that's just, if you look throughout history, that has been the bedrock of civilization. Has been monogamy, no matter where you look. Even in Japan and Eastern religions. The Chinese, they were usually monogamous. All the polyamory and like these harems were for kings.
Yeah, and
That's the way.
People who
Look at
can
how-
afford that shit.
how
You
mo-
broke
how-
motherfucker. Look, if you're broke, stop trying to fuck all these women. You're too broke to do that. He just said if you have to be a king, you gotta be rich, motherfucker. You gotta be able to take care of all of us.
And even the kings failed doing it. Like it was their downfall most of the
Yeah.
time. They got
See?
distracted with the women instead of their kingdom and their people, and things went to shit
Women
afterwards.
do
Just
that.
think what you're chasing. You're chasing hedonism. And is that fulfilling in the end? I think
It's
you
not.
hedonism.
It's what it is. It's
No.
thrilling, but it's not fulfilling, and that's what gets people in the rat wheel.
that's
So
a
I-
good term.
Because it's a
How would-
thrilling thing, but you're not going to feel fulfilled doing
thrilling,
it.
but
No.
not
How would you define
fulfilling.
hedonism
That's a good one.
for her?
That's good.
Hedonism is
Yeah.
sensuality. It's chasing sensuality. So
You're chasing
Lust.
short-term dopamine.
Lust, yeah,
It could be drugs too, like
Could
would
be
fall under
drugs.
I
hedonism.
love drugs.
we call it sensuality.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
it's anything that makes you quote feel good.
Yeah,
Right.
in the short term, it's always gonna be like short-term pleasure, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times the problem with it is there's not like the baseline's here, and then you need more of it every time.
Right.
And that's why you see
like drugs.
Yeah,
There's
that's
a
why you s-
tolerance.
yeah,
like a
exactly.
tolerance.
Right, so you have to get a little bit more depraved every time. So like, it's not just a beautiful
Especially with
woman
chasing
anymore.
women, that's a great like.
It's not just a beautiful woman anymore. It's two beautiful women, right? And it's not just two beautiful women. It's three beautiful women.
It's two beautiful women who will sleep with each other.
Right, and King Solomon, Sheba, she wasn't even very beautiful. She had like very odd features, like her nose, and like people talked about the way she looked as not being very beautiful.
Right.
But he was interested in that, and you can see it kind of goes further into then it becomes not even women, it becomes guys and orgies and like these sex parties that end up coming, and then it becomes a guy like Julius Caesar. They had a famous quote about him. He's like, every woman's man and every man's woman. So it tells you how depraved it gets. So like he wanted to be a woman. He wanted to get plowed in the, that was what happens. Because oh yeah, that's just, this is, and
He
it's
used
very
to take
common
it in the booty.
all the time. He loved it.
Nice.
But that was after he went through this long depraved, and there was trauma for each one of those guys in the beginning.
Okay,
That
I
a
can
lot
see
of them,
that.
a lot of these guys went through trauma in the beginning. They had some messed up sexual experiences in the beginning, and that's part of the way you climb the ladder. It's no different in this country. Even if you look at a lot of the politicians, like Epstein's Island, for instance, it's a way of blackmailing. It's a way of controlling, and it's also a way that they can get away with their hedonism because it feeds that need as well as keeping them in control, right? And Christ and God, we're working for the kingdom of God. We're working for righteousness, right? So we're constantly fighting against the sensuality. They call it the flesh, our flesh. It wants things that, like you guys, we were just talking earlier before the podcast started about what it's like when you have like a high sex drive as a woman. Now, I had a friend, I won't tell her name, but she ended up having her ovaries taken out. And so she went on to a hormone therapy afterwards, right? And her sex drive went through the roof. Like
Yeah.
it went through the roof because she was higher on testosterone, right? And she was able to kind of identify with what it's like that men have to
Deal with.
contend with that all the time as Christian men because we're not allowed to, we don't see it as emasculating to go out and just sleep with women.
Yeah.
And I don't think enough men talk about this because they just say, oh, it's another notch on your belt. It's another notch on your belt, whatever. You're
Yeah.
sleeping
Being
with these women.
controlled by it.
Zerka's a little bit more.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, but it's also like you don't see, these women don't really like you. They don't. You're a piece of flesh at that point in time, and you do
Yeah.
feel emasculated. It's just a couple steps down from paying for sex, which is very emasculating.
So it's like being used, right? Is that
It
what you're
is.
trying to say? It's like
It's
being,
objectifying
Yeah, it's
the-
like being
the-
used for something.
Exactly, because God's purpose is that is the closest union between a man and a woman. It's made for making life. It's made for creating life. It's like that's the most precious thing we do as human beings is
So
create life.
do you
It's sacred.
even though you're like it's a Christian thing and I know like Christians believe in like marriage, in getting married then having sex. Do you
Yeah.
guys believe in premarital sex? Like what are your guys' opinions on that?
I'll let Mike take this.
I don't. I will. I just because everyone loves to bring it up.
Yeah.
I still have my B card.
Mm-hmm.
And
That is just
yep.
the most awesome thing.
Thank you.
I love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Strong
And,
do
man.
you?
I absolutely love
30.
that.
Really?
Yeah.
How's that been? How's that
I
experience?
mean, we're men. It sucks. Like it's
Yeah.
not great. But I
Yeah.
think it shows like if you allow yourself to just chase your hedonistic desires, like what are you in the end? You just let that stuff control you.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the data. Like that's one thing that annoys me about the red pill is they say body count really only matters for women. Like if you look at
Oh,
the studies,
God.
like
I
men are
disagree
fine
with
with it.
There we
I
go.
totally
And
disagree.
Well, that's why I brought up the
lot of-
emasculating
a
thing.
lot-
Disagree
Oh, I
too.
totally disagree.
I disagree with that too, 100%.
Like, I don't
want
know
a guy
how-
that's been through a whole bunch of women because one, it's a safety thing. I'm like, I don't even know what you have.
It's just
Yeah.
I don't know where
gross.
you've been with, and plus, I don't even know how much of you is actually left to give me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Does
Because
it
you're
bother
exchanging
you?
things.
Like
Like that.
if you're
are.
pursuing, if you have a guy that's interested in you, if he told you, like, is there a level that matters to you?
To be completely honest, it doesn't bother me, but it bothers me when I know, if
When
that
you
makes
know.
sense.
That makes sense.
It's one of those like whatever your body
Ignorance
count
is bliss. Just
don't
You
tell
have
me.
yeah, ignorance is bliss. Exactly. If you don't tell me, fuck it. If I know you've had a lot of women, you've had a lot of women. Okay, fine. As soon as I know the number, like, oh yeah, I've had 50, 60, 100 girls, I'm like, ew.
Yeah.
Like, you just like, I'm like, condom or no condom? Like, at this point, it doesn't matter. Like, do you use plan B? Does she use plan B? Like, what the fuck? I don't know. Like, are you clean? Like, it starts making you think, and it does make you judge. Like, you know, when you're on Access Vegas, they love to ask the what's your body count? And I'm like, 3. I know it's not. Like, excuse me, but I'm a slut. Like, I have a past. Excuse me, I'm sorry. But
We all have pass.
I have a past. You know, like lately it's been very dry, but when I got
Why is that? Is it because you're focusing on other things?
What do you mean?
You said it's been very dry. Is that a conscious decision? Like I'm
Yes.
focusing on other things?
Well, it's a little bit of a lot. So God, they're Christian. Oh my God, Lord Jesus, please forgive me for what I'm about to say to these men. I used to be a stripper. And when I was a stripper, I had a guy that raped me while I was on the job because
I'm so sorry. That is horrifying.
It's horrifying, but I took it as a blessing because it made me get out of that world.
Okay.
You know, like I had to look
okay.
at it in a different
That's
sense.
Yep.
Yeah, because
Impressive
it
you
was.
can look at it that way.
Yeah, I had to take it as a positive because like I'm
That's
not
probably
gonna let it
pretty
eat me up.
common. I would say not. What is it common? It's in that.
No,
No, it's
and
not.
but that's the thing too is like a lot of like the guy did it because he was already thinking like, you know, if I'm giving him a private dance, it was a private dance at that time, I was giving him a private dance, and to him it was like, well, you're already naked, might as well just get on top of you and force my way into you. And it was like, no, like that's not what I'm here for. That's like I don't have sex. I'm a stripper. I don't fuck. But to
It's
him,
a thin line for
Aren't there
men when
bouncers
they're-
like watching for that?
oh no, so I did private parties only. So
Oh,
I did like bachelor parties. I was the girl that jumped out of the cake. I was
Okay.
like a topless poker dealer. So I was like an elite high-end stripper, I want to say, but I was still naked, and I still had to do my private dances after. And when I did, he took advantage of me, and then after that I was like completely done. So when he did that, I was done with sex in general.
Wow.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
like I was
Wow.
like,
That's common.
yeah, because this God, it's gonna get darker. 4 days after I got raped, one of my friends sexually assaulted me. He sat on my chest and tried to put his dick in my mouth.
Your friends.
My friend, like I watched his daughter babysat his daughter, my friend.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was one of those things. And the guy that I was dating at the time, he lived in California, and I was like, babe, I'm going through some shit. I gotta go tell you. I went to California, went to go visit him, and I was like, I got raped and my friend sexually assaulted me. And he's like, oh my God, babe, I'm so sorry. Tried to comfort me with sex.
That is the last
What?
thing.
Bro, like, I'm like, dudes are fucking stupid when it comes to their dick sometimes. And I was like,
No,
all right,
that's depravity. That's not stupidity. That's depravity.
what is that? Like, exactly?
Depravity is a twisting of one's
like
nature.
warping.
It's a warping. It's a twisting of one's nature. So like, that's what happens when you get into that's what ends up occurring.
Yeah.
When you forget what the point of sex is to begin with,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it becomes a validating force, which is what a lot of people who have sex for. They validate certain insecurities with themselves, or they're validating other people's, which is or they see this open door, this like insecurity. Let me go feed on this, predatory, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
They already saw the trauma occur. So the
Yeah.
door is open. So then you are in weakened state.
Yeah.
You're like the gazelle that has like, some type of sickness that's off the herd. Mm-hmm. And then they go,
The lone one, yeah.
bingo, that's depravity.
They went and ate me alive.
Right.
That's exactly what they did. And it's funny because I told the guy, my friend who sexually assaulted me, I told him that I had gotten raped 4 days earlier. And I was like, he had a lowrider. I know. He had a lowrider. I love lowriders. Like classic vehicles are like my thing. He has one, so he was like, I'll take you on a ride in my lowrider. And I was like, that sounds great. Let's go. We never went, obviously, but then he did that. And I was like, how do I, and you're my friend. I told you that this happened and you still.
There's the guys and girls being friends conversation.
No, that's worse. Than that. That's worse.
Well,
than
I
that,
know,
because,
but
like
just
the way that we view things is sisters. Like I call this is my sister.
Yeah.
My brother Glenn's wife. It's my
Yeah.
sister. And women should be viewed as brothers and sisters biblically.
Yeah.
We're supposed to take care of them as a brother and a sister. What a wife is, like my brother's wife, Julie, she's my sister. I call
Yeah.
her sister. Same way like brothers call each other bros.
Yeah.
And we don't understand that in today's society very well. It's overly sexualized. If you touch or you hug, it's like it becomes this, and for good reason, because that is the underlying theme, the powerful.
Were we just talking about who was it? We were just talking about the fact that like you can compliment somebody,
Yes.
and people just over sexualize a like I'm like I
You were
think
talking
look
to her
so
about it,
cute
yes.
today.
Yeah.
She looks so cute. I'm like, no offense, like you're beautiful, but I'm like, it doesn't mean I want to fuck her. You know, like I'm like, you look adorable. Your hair's like done up. Like I'm like, oh my god, you look so cute. It doesn't mean that I want to like sit here like I'm just thinking about her vagina in my face right
think-
now. Like,
Well, that's the world we live in right now.
Yeah,
Everything is
that's how it is.
sexualized. Every advertisement is sexualized. If you go anywhere and everywhere,
It's worse with
It's-
dudes though. Like
Well, for
It's
guys,
so
it's worse.
much worse
It's
with dudes.
And
But-
that's what makes this predatory nature so much more profound, like what she's dealing with. You know, it makes that nature acceptable because you're seeing it everywhere. You're getting indoctrinated
Oh,
I
all
think
the
men
time.
need to be more careful. I mean, Glenn and I have had this conversation where it's like he's a very nice guy. You guys know him.
He's sweet, yeah,
He's sweet.
yeah.
He's
He
friendly
talks to everybody.
Man is like the woman getting her hair done at the salon. Like he talks to everybody. I love him to death. But and you guys know he knows everyone.
yeah, he does. Yeah,
Because all he does is talk. So I'm like, but you know, sometimes he's super sweet, but then like I see that the girls that he's talking to are taking like what him saying, like, and he's not like really complimenting them or something, but it's the way that he's talking, like, oh yeah, like being nice,
Yeah.
being cordial,
which
Just
guys
being
do all
nice.
the time too.
they are
Take
taking
that.
it differently, and I'm like, you really need to be careful. Sometimes it's like, unless we're close with them, men have to really be careful because women's minds take that a different way. And if there's something about you that they find sexually attracting or desirable, they're gonna take that and run with it and not think that you're just being nice. They're like, oh, he likes me, or
Preach,
maybe
sister.
tell me that's not true.
So true.
And he didn't believe me until I actually pointed out one day in a scene when we were on set together. And I'm like, I saw this girl, and I was like, do you know her? And he's like, oh yeah, we were on set. I talked to her for a minute. I was like, okay, you need to steer clear of her because she likes you.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, that's just. I'm like, no, women know women. And I was like,
know.
watch. She comes back across the car. She's gonna look in this car. And she did. And I was like, watch. You get inside. She's gonna try to talk to you. And he's like, oh my god, you were so right. She tried to hit on me. And I was like,
You know?
But
guys
what's
have to be
funny, too,
careful.
Is nice people don't know not to be nice. You know what I'm saying? Like they never.
They don't know how to
understand it.
tone it down. Like
They
I'm
don't.
very much like I will talk to you and have the conversation, especially with other men. Like
Yeah.
because it's like unless I know you, I don't trust you or I
Yeah.
don't know your intentions.
Right.
So like and so I'm like
thinking-
I'm very
And that's the thing
distant
too,
with it.
is like when it comes to stuff like that, like you're married to a friendly person and you love the fact that he's friendly. Like I know you love that about him,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, when another woman thinks like, oh, he's flirting with me, he wants me, it makes her look stupid.
Yep.
To that girl, because you know your husband's not gonna cheat on you. He doesn't have that vibe. To be honest, he just doesn't have that vibe. He is very friendly.
He's a man of God, so
He's a man of God. Looking at us.
We would
yeah.
come kick his ass too if that happened.
I would kick his ass because
but
you're
there-
not-
Well, what you're
Same
say-
here.
what
There
you-
are-
yeah.
yeah. See, we got the whole room.
There are men of God that have
Oh, yeah.
stumbled.
And
They
that-
don't-
this
is-
I mean, the thing is,
No,
like,
so-
I have full faith.
It does.
Like,
No, you're right.
Our faith, like, I have nothing but faith. But at the same time, I will never trust another individual the way that I trust God.
Yeah.
That is just how I am. I can have faith in you that I hope that you will never cheat on me, that you will never do me wrong, that you're going to keep your promises. But I still don't trust you 100% because you don't know what that person goes through and the temptations.
Well, what
that
do they
they're
say
dealing
in the
with on a
Bible?
daily
They say,
basis.
"Be as gentle as doves and as wise as serpents." So
Yeah.
our job is not to be out here, spreading love and just innocently going up to people without taking them in. Like Paul said, when I went to the Greeks, I became a Greek. We have to be very discerning and with the people that you meet in this world. Everybody has an agenda. Everyone has, and in today's world, we objectify people. It's very common. I'm not saying me personally. I try to work on this. Rene Girard is a philosopher. He created the mimetic thesis, mimesis, which is Which to boil it down, it's how we are influenced by others and the world and the culture around us,
You are the
in good
company you
ways
keep.
and in bad ways. And it's called mimetic desire, right? The act of acquisitioning. And acquisitioning is taking an object and holding it, grabbing it. It's like I apprehend, I'm going and grabbing with my hand and taking it for me.
big
It's
thing
no
is-
different than when you say like, I get it, or I get it. Like when we're talking, I understand that. I say, I get it. You're saying like, I get it. I grasp that,
Yeah.
right? I grasp what you're saying, right? That mimetic desire. So when he says be wise as serpents and gentle as doves, he's calling you to a higher order of being rational and loving people, really understanding them, taking them in, but not being innocent to the fact that we're dealing with a generation in a world right
humans.
now that's
Yeah,
you're dealing with
exactly.
humans, and they see people as objects nowadays.
I
They
think
don't
you
see them
also-
as
so we-
intrinsically valuable.
To go back kind of like to this the cheating conversation, we were talking about this the other day. Is I think we also need to realize that we are humans, in that, like, I view it as everyone has the capability to make those mistakes, and it's
Of
about the
course.
circumstances you put yourself in that
Yeah.
can lead it to.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're constantly putting yourself in circumstances where you're being tempted, like the greatest man is probably going to fail under the right
Yeah, that's
true.
circumstances.
Just like
and that's
someone-
why I think
human.
that's why, like, when you're in a relationship and having opposite gender close friends, like, those things I don't think work. Like, you might fully trust your spouse in that, but in the long run, what if you're going through a rough patch and now you're talking to this opposite gender friend of yours about this, and then confiding in them, and then it leads to one thing? Like, I think there's so many.
Well, you're subconsciously
Do you
opening
think that
yourself
that's
up.
okay?
No, well, I think I have to. No, I have to. I have a boy personality. I know I dress like this, but I
Same.
mean, you guys. Yeah,
It's very
Yeah.
common for girls today to say they prefer guy friends.
This is a
We
big
hear that
problem,
all the
actually.
time.
This
My
is a
thing
big. We were
is-
just talking to Coco about this. We're like, why don't girls have more friends? Like real friends, like real friends they can talk to,
Yeah.
and like be honest with. Like guys that have no problem making like
know,
those
get
bosom
jealous.
buddies.
Damn, that's so deep, because a lot of guys will not respect a female having a guy friend.
But they want us to respect them having female friends.
No, I don't think it's
Some
acceptable.
of them do.
I have I'm in a relationship and I have 3 best friends who are guys and 1 best friend who's a girl.
Were you best friends before you guys got together?
Yes.
That to me sometimes can make a difference.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just personal preference. Like, it depends. Like, if you've known them your whole entire life, or let's say
Yeah.
like 10 years or something.
Yeah, all of
I'm
them.
not.
Yeah.
Obviously, they have shown enough trust that even though
My friends are literally like because I'm very selective with, especially if there's a dude, especially if it's a dude, because of the shit that I've been through, and because I need to know that, like, if I have you as a friend and you're a male, if I get drunk or if I get, like, if I'm fucked up, because I just admitted that I did drugs in front of you guys, but if I'm doing some hyperactive drugs and all of a sudden I sit on your lap, I need my friends to be like, what the fuck are you doing? All 3 of my friends, all the 3 male friends that I have that are really close to me, which shout out Chance and Amir and Daryl, hey, like, those are my best friends that I know that, like, if I ever sat on their lap on accident or something, they'd be like, what the okay, like, you're obviously fucked up. I'm gonna take you home. I'm gonna put you in your room and you need to go to sleep.
At least your guy friends are nice.
My
My guy
guy-
friends would just throw me.
But I mean, somewhat same, like a little bit, like my.
What do you think if you called them right now and asked them like why
Let's
haven't we
fuck?
or like why haven't we ever dated?
Oh,
What do you think their answer would be? They'd be like no, or what do you think they would?
all of my
consider it?
friends, all 3 of them, the guys that I have in my life would be like, "Are you drunk?" Like,
Are
okay,
you stupid?
you know Chance. Chance, I call him my brother. I literally call him my brother. I introduced him. I came in here, told everybody he was my brother. Everyone thought he was my brother until I told him, I was like, well, he's also my photographer. And someone had asked him in the studio, they were like, how do you feel about taking like OnlyFans pictures for your sister? Like, isn't that uncomfortable? And it was like, oh, well, okay, like, technically she's not my sister, she's my best friend. But they're like, damn, I really thought you guys were brother and sister. That's how close we are. Like, it's that
Do
dynamic.
you think it's appropriate though if you're in a relationship to hang out with a guy one-on-one?
I do.
I don't.
Because
I live with them.
That's where you're gonna run into. That's where you're gonna run into. Like I think
I
it's
live
very.
with my brother. Like, but he's my brother, but he's my best friend, but I
What-
live with him.
How would you feel if your guy was hanging out with a girl you deemed extremely beautiful? Like, oh, she's just my friend.
I did though. There was a guy that I was dating. He was very well off, and so was this girl, and they were living together. They were living in the same apartment, but my thing is I just have to see the interaction. Because just like she said, I know women. You may not want to fuck her, but if she want to fuck you, this shit ain't gonna work. And it's gonna be either me or her, and I know you're gonna choose your friend over me because she's been there longer. I don't want nothing to do with it. So I have to see the interaction, and I'm very understanding because I have to be, because I do have male friends. So I try my best to at least see how they act together. Is she twerking in front of you for no fucking reason, or like is she giving you like the googly eyes or something like that? Like there's a different dynamic that people have when they're actually just friends.
What about girlfriends?
What do you mean?
Like, you said you have 3 very close brothers. Do you have any sisters?
Yeah, the one that I was on the phone with. Her name's Lady Rose. I fucking love her. That's
You don't
my
have
girl.
anybody close, do you?
Like, you're living with your brother.
Yeah,
She lives in Sacramento.
yeah.
You have
One female friend.
to 3 other boyfriends. Friends that are brothers.
Friends that are guys.
That are guys.
Yeah.
It's funny when you say boyfriends.
Yeah,
I
guy
didn't mean
friends.
that. I didn't mean that at all. What we've seen a lot of is women don't have a lot of other closer female friends.
Yeah, no.
I don't know
Why
if
is
it's a
that?
culture
Is my
thing or-
question.
yeah.
To be fair, my female best friend has a very boyish personality. Still very feminine, very feminine. Like, she's the type that wants her door to be open and all that bullshit. But she could take
That's
a joke.
bullshit.
Yeah, well, like, it's just those little feminine things. Like, I'm the type where I'm like, I'll open my own motherfucking door. Bitch, I don't need you. I don't need no man. Like, I'm that girl. Oh my God. She's the type that's like, no, I want a strong man who can lift heavy things. And I'm like, fuck that shit. I can lift all these heavy things by myself. But
We'll arm wrestle after this.
I swear, bro. Oh my God. Someone did that to me the other day. He like put his hand up and I thought we were arm wrestling. I was like, you wasn't. My bad. I thought we were arm wrestling. He's like, you're a fucking girl. And I was like, I will beat your ass too. Like, but I have like a really strong testosterone personality, I guess you can say. But she has the same personality. She's very boyish. Like, she can take a joke. She talks about girls in different senses. She's not so girly. Like,
Yeah.
What do you mean by girly? Like, because when you say girly, I'm thinking like there's something about being girly that doesn't lead to having close other female friendships.
girly
Why
people
don't they?
are
What's going
sensitive.
on there?
I'm a comedian.
Okay.
And I feel like, in my opinion, when I've tried to be friends with girly girls, I can't tell them
You're
that they're
walking
fat.
on eggshells.
You're
Okay.
walking on fucking eggshells, right? I can't sit there and tell them like, oh my God, you're like, what the fuck is wrong with your hair? And then like my best friend will laugh and she'll be like, bitch, I look like a crackhead, huh? Like we have like that joking
It's
dynamic.
a bit of honesty that maybe is
It's
not
a
allowed.
lot of honesty.
You cannot be as straightforward with the woman. Say,
No.
Yeah, and how could you build a strong relationship when you're just pandering someone's sensitivity? Can
Yeah.
you really do that?
No.
Right.
You cannot, but that's a really good fucking way to put it, though. Thank you. Because holy shit.
Well, we're
we see
interested
it
in
everywhere.
it.
It's
We
not
want to
just,
know.
It's definitely not just you. Like, we
No.
see it
Yeah.
among the women, like your brother's wife. And it's very common.
It's very common.
I appreciate when I can be honest and upfront with somebody. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I've gotten really close to Amber. Me and Amber, like, we make fun of each other. Like, we have like something. She'll have a racist joke for me, and I'll have like a joke about her booty the other day. You know, it's like we have like, I'm getting really close to Amber and Nikki. Like, I love Nikki and I love Dom. Like, but I think I have to like be around the female a lot to like know that she has.
You have to feel it out.
You have to feel it out.
And with women, it's difficult because we talked about this the other day. It's like women are good at faking something because they want something from you. They're trying to gain something from you.
That's
Women
called-
can be extremely catty.
Bitches got an
and
agenda.
petty.
Yes.
And it sucks because it's like I get jealous that men can instantly have a bomb. They'll talk for 5 minutes and they'll be like, bro.
You're friends with
they
Glenn
all
in, like,
high
literally 5
five.
minutes.
They're exchanging phone numbers. Like, I'm going to hit you up tomorrow. And I'm like, I want that.
Yeah.
I want to be able to have a click and be like, girl, I'm going to pick you up tomorrow. We're going to go Bible study or we're going to go to the mall. Like,
Bible study.
Well, I think
I
you know
would burn.
historically, guys. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. We'd be happy to have you. I'm sure Coke would love to have you. It's a wonderful thing, and that's where some really good bonds come. Is when you learn things. And a lot of men historically, we're going out to battle, we're going out hunting in groups. always in groups. Guys were always leaving in groups. The women were back, and they had their own little household they were taking care of,
Yeah.
kind of manning their own ships,
Yeah.
you know. And I see that with a lot of the girls that don't have the friends. Like they're cool being like lone wolves. They're almost like proud of it. And historically, you can see that's a lot of like the way that we have been made to do. Like guys are used to that. It's like, hey, we're gonna go out. We're gonna have to trust each other. We have to kill this animal, which means we're gonna have to be honest with each other the whole way if we're going to be successful.
Yeah.
If we're gonna build this, if we're gonna fight this battle, if we're gonna build this ship, we have to be honest if we want success. So it's like a group cumulative effort, and that's what every relationship is based on. It's based on a goal. And it's like, how are we going to do this together? Remember we said marriage, the goal is to have kids and it's for legacy, right? Friendship needs to be based on something of the same nature. You have to be based on bettering the other person and them being accountable to you so that you have this accountability that's going back and forth. Otherwise, you're not doing anything for them or yourself. You're just pandering your weakness, and you're making weakness the center of your life, which means both of you guys are going to become less and less of the person you should be. And God put us here to be herd animals together, so we could enjoy each other's presence like a body. In the Christian book, the Bible, we call it the body of Christ, which means every cell inside of a body has a different. There's eye cells, there's foot cells, there's all these different, and each one has its own job, its own purpose, created for a purpose, right? That's the way the body of Christ works out. And in today's world, everyone wants to be a mouthpiece. Everyone, it's like Fight Club, you know. Like everyone wants to be a rock star, an actor, you know, but we're not going to be these things. So like that's why we know that the value is in being humbled, is in doing the hard work. You know, like Jesus says, if you give a cup of water to somebody, that's he who is highest. John the Baptist, he wore like skins of animals out in the desert, was eating honey and locust. It was just like a crazy man out there. And he said he is highest in the kingdom of heaven. And what he's doing is he's trying to show, just because you have an Andrew Tate who's got all the Bugattis and all the women and all this materialistic, right, this stuff, this status, it's not going to be fulfilling. It's not going to end up being fulfilling. I think that's why you see these guys going
to religion now.
They are. Like he's going to Islam.
For them.
Right.
You think so?
I think that's probably part of it.
Right.
I'm curious, what are your thoughts? Like, how would you define a high-value man? What is the type of man you're looking for?
A high-value man is someone who isn't materialistic. Because I absolutely hate someone who is not humble. Like when you're constantly talking about money, talking about my house, my car, my clothes, designer. I hate that. To me, a high-value man is someone who is really kind, super fucking funny, and someone who I can rely on. That's all. I definitely look for more in a personality than I do in your height, how you look, and your wiener size. Like that doesn't really bother me, because I'm like, I've had an Asian who rocked my world for 9 fucking years. Then you get with a black dude and you're like,
you know,
size doesn't matter, bro. It really doesn't.
They say in the Bible, if moth and rust can destroy it, you know, what value is of that? Like your treasure is in heaven.
You can lose all of that.
Exactly. What kind of a man are you going to be under those circumstances?
And you know what I do like though? Having the materialistic stuff is kind of important.
It is.
You know, at least to have transportation, have a place to live, and have clothes on your back. But if you lose everything, like if you lose your career, God forbid someone, defamation of character, I don't know what the fuck. You can lose everything. Can you get it back? I need a man that can get it back. I need a man that can, okay, well, now I can't work as a doctor no more, but I'm going to be a fucking comedian. Or like I can't be
somebody who's driven to provide.
Someone who's driven. Yeah.
And that comes from what? What does drive comes from? Purpose.
Exactly.
You have to have a purpose.
To have purpose.
If you don't have that purpose, once it's all taken away from you, you have nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're weakened. You can never take away the purpose of a man. And that's what a true man is. That's what makes him a man. That's what gives him the ability to lead and make wise decisions that isn't based on what everyone else is doing. He's not mimetically inclined and controlled, because his purpose, number one, he's in submission, we believe, into Christ. So he's submitting himself to a higher power, which automatically puts him in a humbled state, in a state of consciousness. Number one, he's a conscious state. So like the ego kind of comes in, and he's always fighting with this, right? He's trying to remain in communion with the Father, right? That means the things that he does in the dark that no one else is seeing matter to him. That means when no one else can see, if he can get
Integrity.
away with cutting a corner or stealing or banging this chick or whatever, he's not going to do that. Why?
There's a reason behind it. Because
Yes.
if you think of a secular a man, like I always think, like, oh man, how could you ever trust him? He has no reason for his morality behind it. Like there's no foundation to it.
Right.
So he might be loyal now, but when constantly as a guy, like your instincts are just pulling at you. Like your brain kind of wants variety all the time with women. So it's like, what's the reason in his head that he's going to say no to that over the long haul? And like if he doesn't have any sort of belief in God or,
The convictions.
there's no conviction
Those
behind
convictions
it.
are essential.
Like it's just kind of an illusion almost. A lot of people, like secular people, they borrow Christian morals, like because they have no real reason for it. Can you tell me why, without like some foundation of God, why a man should not cheat on his woman? Like, is there a reason? Just because it makes her unhappy, but who cares?
Oh, no, for me personally, don't cheat on your wife or don't cheat on somebody because you can bring diseases home.
And that's a waste of time.
That's a waste of like in my
But he wants to. and who
Well,
cares?
the diseases thing is like there's a lot of these sort of like consequences, right? Consequences are put there because God made a natural law. Like obviously he put the diseases there because like he doesn't want this to happen.
Yeah.
Right? But for a lot of guys they could say, "Well, I know she's clean. I've been she's been my coworker for 4 years." Right? Let's just do a
Coworkers
hypothetical
lie,
because most
motherfucker.
of the cheating
They
does not
lie.
happen on a one-night stand for men and women today that are married. It's happening at the job. They've known these people for a while. They've vetted them out. They're pretty sure there's no gonorrhea happening there. You know what I mean?
Without the blood test.
Right. So like, that's the idea that we're saying is like, what happens when it's just an open door and it's like, go ahead, buddy. The world's your oyster.
I have a really this is like a super random question a little bit, but it kind of popped up. But when it comes to sex and it comes to like the Christian values. Is having sex aside from the vaginal hole? How is that looked upon for you
Like
guys?
sodomy?
Like anal, like like giving head and stuff like that. Like, are you guys?
I would say there's different views on it. I pretty much view if you're married and not just like doing like bestiality, crazy shit, like
Oh,
anything goes.
bestiality.
Explicitly in the Bible, it's not spoken with an animal. Yes, like definitely
no,
not.
that's-
Obviously, don't do that. And with a man, it's generally yes. We're not supposed to be having sex with men.
Yeah.
It doesn't make children.
Yeah.
Right. That goes against the nature that God made. Right.
Right.
And so with your wife, that is your wife.
Okay.
You guys are one flesh. What you do together is up to you guys. And so long as you're honoring God, you have this idea like the sex. Some people have this idea that like sex with a Christian is going to suck. It's not.
Actually,
No.
statistically,
Way
they're the
better.
most fulfilling sex
Because
life.
they're also
my
givers.
boy, I knew that. I
That's
knew
right.
Because everybody that is strong with their faith, we're supposed to give.
Yeah.
So it's our natural inclination to actually just
I
constantly
feel
want to
it's
give and to please
it's
each
always
other.
the quiet ones that are freaky as fuck.
They'll-
Like it's always the quiet ones. I'm like, it'd be some Christians where I'm like, I know you freaky motherfucker.
Now I would say there's I would say some stuff is out of bounds. Like there's 50 Shades of Grey type stuff.
Well,
It's
yeah,
like,
when it gets
Okay.
where are you warping stuff and it's probably like porn or your past sex life that warped
Or
your
some
brain
trauma,
to want
yeah.
that stuff.
Right.
So you got to ask yourself.
But
like,
that's going into the same word we began with, depravity,
Yeah.
where it goes a little bit depraved, when it
Yeah.
goes into a depraved place,
Yeah.
where it's obviously this isn't about, there's no love involved. Like you're objectifying this person on a hardcore level. It doesn't mean you can go into your wife and be like, be very dominant with her,
Yeah.
and have that, enjoy that, because a man should be dominant with his wife.
Yeah.
But
Rare.
yeah, there can be those, and that goes in anything. You could bring food into the same thing. Like you could be married, and you could be one of you guys could be overindulging and having a problem with gluttony.
I thought you
per
meant
se.
food in the bedroom. I was like, I'm telling you,
I was
these
just
Christians be
thinking
of-
freaky. He's like, he
You're the
used
prime
chocolate
rib
on-
and the
He
steak.
put chocolate on his dick. I know it.
I thought he was talking about food in the bedroom too,
thought
like the
so.
sushi
I was
thing.
like,
But that
man,
I was just thinking of
oh,
Always
cream
Sunny
on the
in
titties. All right.
Always Sunny in
Okay.
Philadelphia. You watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Frank and his weird girlfriend, they were always using food.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You want to eat a T-bone off your girlfriend's ass, and go for it. All right? That's up to you. All
I'm
right?
ready, hey baby. You know, I'm down to have some barbecue sauce on my asshole. No.
I don't think that's going to be the main thing. Yeah, obviously there gets to a point to where like Mike brought up 50 Shades of Grey. Like there ends up becoming this type of thing. But I think that a lot of it's very interesting. Like women watch or read porn. They read it
For the most part.
Whereas a man is more visually inclined to like watching just the visual. Like
You watch porn? You don't? Y'all don't.
It actually grosses me out if somebody has porn on. It makes me sick to my stomach.
I watch it for the plot.
What?
I watch it for the plot. You know, the first start of the porn, it's like it's acting, but
That's
it's
terrible.
terrible acting,
plumber shows
and it's
up.
just trying to get to like the porn action. I love it because it's so fucking funny.
Her boyfriend
I
sits there
feel like I
and
need to
judge it.
take a shower the minute it gets turned on. I start to feel sick and I need to go and take a shower.
I feel so out of place right now because I'm like, I watch it and then I like do my thing and then I'm like disgusted in myself afterwards. 'Cause I'm like, I really came to that. Like
That's
I'm like, there was a
that's-
midget
guys
giving
deal with
foot
that.
porn over there, and I was like, I was really sitting there watching a midget
That
giving.
post nut clarity.
post nut clarity. It's a real thing. It's a real thing, and that's you got to be aware of that. Like those, that's the.
Lord Jesus, please
consequence.
forgive me. Lord Jesus, please forgive me. Oh my God.
It is. I think pretty much a fact that women mostly read their porn,
Right, they're
and that's
more-
what's funny because men will get.
I'm gonna say that right here, right now. That is facts to the max.
But it's kind of funny because men get shit on all the time for watching porn, and no one really covers that topic. Like,
Well,
women are reading
yeah.
all these romance novels that no one's really looking into or caring about, and it's like, and then they get all these. They
That's
get all
a good
these.
idea because then it can cause distance in relationships. I
Oh,
heard
for
there was
sure.
so many distances in relationships when the 50 Shades of Greys came out, like the books and stuff, because the women were like, I want that, and then they
Right.
looked at their husband differently because like he could never be that.
Well, you
And
know
I'm
why
just
they
like,
want
wait a
that?
minute, what?
I feel like 50 Shades of Grey is way too like outlandish for me.
No, okay, because I was gonna say one of my favorite books
Hmm.
is called The Maintenance Man, and it's about a guy who he calls himself the maintenance man, but he goes around and he like has sex with women, but then it describes how he has sex with each
Yes,
woman, and I'm
that's
like, oh,
females
puppy,
porn.
oh, it's reading porn, and I never thought about it. I'm like, that's one of my favorite books. That's like,
Yeah. A lot of the
mind-blown as
stories.
fuck right now.
They're very dominant. Like 50 Shades of Grey goes into sadism, where you're inflicting pain on the other person, and if the big part of the red pill is that we're dealing with a feminized masculinity and a hyper masculine feminine, so it's basically the roles are being reversed. So women are married, they're with men that are very feminized, right? They're always asking for sex. Maybe she doesn't feel like it. They don't feel like they have a masculine man that's going to assert themselves in the bedroom and take control of them, which is what they want, and they desire this. They have a feminized man in the household. So then they deal with this for years and years and years, and they start to build up this desire for this hyper dominant man, this hyper masculine man, which is what you're getting in the 50 Shades of Grey or in these other, and then they're that's what they really want. They don't really want that to happen to them. That's too extreme.
Yeah.
But it's feeding the same need of what they want a masculine man in the household to lead them. So this is what happens when you take the gender roles and you mix them up. You mix them all up, right? Because a man's supposed to provide that for his wife. He's supposed to assert himself over her and be a man,
Yeah.
and give her that submitted feeling of she's around a strong, powerful man that will lead, right, in the bedroom and
See,
outside.
now I'm thinking, how you guys got?
Well, that's what that's what the Bible tells us, and that's the hierarchy that is supposed to be there, and that's the hierarchy that's been reversed in the last 30 years with the feminist movement, with what we have going on right
Well,
now.
the sexual
Then
revolution.
that's kind of what the red pill's sort of trying to burgeon out to the guys, is saying, this is what being a man is. This is what the women are currently, which is a hyper masculine female. Like I said, the roles have been reversed, right? So both are very unhappy. And Mike he's been saying this for a while. He's like, I think that they're going to be less and less relationships, long-term
Totally.
ones, because they're going to be
Totally.
very unhappy.
We're not attractive.
They're not
attractive to each other anymore.
Yeah.
Like
That's
everyone's gonna have to be settling, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
because the men are feminized. So what women really want to deal with that, and then vice versa, the women
Right.
are masculine. It's like we're not really attractive to each other anymore.
That's right, because we're not fulfilling our purpose that God put for us.
Do you think that this is only America?
I think it's the higher,
Western culture,
the more,
Yeah.
the richer countries, yes. Westernized, generally, yes. Like in Europe, it's happening, and the United States and Canada, of course. But if you go look over to like some of the poorer countries, they still know they don't have the opportunity to go out and play with these types of ideas. It's not, you don't have that. The poverty kind of keeps them
What is
in a
Rob
rational
Henderson-
state.
What's Rob Henderson's quote on that? It's a luxury belief.
Yeah.
We have all these kind of like luxury beliefs because of our wealth and stuff, where we can run down these paths of kind of depravity because it doesn't really affect us.
Right, because we're all in the 10%
sense.
of the world, you know.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
that's
30 grand
like
in the 10%
the sexual revolution and feminism are basically luxury beliefs, because now we got this technology, and like between birth control, abortion, and basically those two take
Yeah.
the shackles off women, and now
No consequences.
There's no consequences to sex, and it's completely just for the dopamine hit, basically, rather than the procreation side.
Right, and
That
if
it
you-
used to be. There used to be a consequence. Like
Yeah.
I have to pick this
Pregnancy.
Like if I get pregnant from this guy, like you better have your shit together. So there was a way bigger filter needed on who you're selecting. And then that in
Whereas
turn,
now people just have sex because they have cool pants. It's like,
Yeah.
like, oh, you have good status and you dress nice. I want to have a kid with you. No, you know what's fucked up
It's
though?
a subconscious. I don't think you want to have a kid with them. It's a subconscious.
It's a
desire.
subconscious thing, because sometimes, you know, you think that the person you're having sex with is like good looking until you have a kid with them. Then you see the kid looks just like them and you're like, oh, this motherfucker's ugly because this kid is ugly. I'm sorry, I'm like, kids can be ugly.
No, it's funny. It's funny you bring this up because there was there's a doctor in L.A. and he had met this woman and she was gorgeous and they had kids and the kids were ugly and he was like, what the hell? And then he found out that she had a bunch of surgery, which she should have
I
counted, but it was
heard
very
it.
well done.
I heard
and
about
he
that.
ended up suing this woman.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
And won.
He sued her because he found out she had surgery and she.
And his kids were ugly and he was like, this
Yeah.
is not what I signed up for.
He
It's
won
good.
the
You know-
suit.
you know
Like I
those-
could see
I don't know if he
trying.
won or
those
not.
ones.
but
No, he won.
He did.
Yes, he
okay.
did.
Very interesting.
It's a very interesting story. This lady, you know those little like konnichiwa, little Asians like
Yeah.
they eat and there's like Hello Kitties. So she had her face like completely redone to look like one of those little like cute little Asian girls, right? So he marries her. He has 3 kids with her, and he's like, these aren't my kids. These aren't my kids, like because they were ugly, like they didn't look like him, they didn't look like her. So he's like, these aren't my kids. This dude ends up getting a paternity test, and he's like, these are my kids, but why don't they look like me? And then it ends up coming out later in life that she had so much surgery that she doesn't look like herself, and she never told him. And in that culture, you're allowed to be like, you didn't tell your husband the truth. You didn't tell me the truth, so I'm allowed to divorce you, and I'm allowed to sue you for like it wasn't like defamation of character. It was like a like leading him on in the wrong sense. Like, you told me you were this, and you're actually
like
not.
a false impersonation of herself.
Yeah, something like that, and he won. He
Wow.
really won.
He's gonna have that.
And he doesn't have a
Kylie
kid.
Jenner's gonna have the same problem. Let's be honest. same thing's gonna happen to her. Those kids are gonna come cranking out straight to the plastic surgery place.
Oh my
So
god.
fucked
You know,
up.
yeah. But you know, going back to what Mike was saying, if you think about the income that we have here and the 10% of the world, you're up in that 10% echelon. We're all really kings and queens over here, right? And if you go back to King Solomon being super wise and smart, like God blessed him with the most wisdom. Along with all this richness, people are on TikTok. They're wasting they're actually becoming dumber and dumber with the riches.
Yes, they are.
So if there's not this responsibility with usually, let's like Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. The two are always God's fair. He's like, you want a lot of power, get ready for a lot of responsibility, my friend. That's the way it goes. It's not a joyride, okay? It's not a kid in a candy store. There's responsibility comes along with it. That's what's happening now. That responsibility isn't happening. You're seeing people like the transgender kids, they have the highest suicide rate.
That was
right?
gonna be my
There's
next question for you
consequences
guys.
that are coming on for these decisions that are happening, and you're seeing it in real time occurring now. People are not happier because they're richer, because they're
No.
having more sex with more people, because they have a Bugatti outside, because they have this giant house. It's not fulfilling them. It's not fulfilling them. It's thrilling, but it's not fulfilling, right? So that responsibility needs to be it. If you have the riches, then you have to be responsible with it.
Yeah.
That's what builds the purpose. That's what makes you, when you're old age, you have a legacy. You feel good about meeting death. You know, you don't look back and say, wow,
Regretting.
that was a shit show. You know?
That's gonna be me.
No.
I'm a shit show in a very good time. Like, that was a shit show, but I had fun. I had a lot of fun. But that was actually gonna go to my next question. So, what are your guys' opinions on like the transgender stuff? Like,
I believe that what we've done is we hyper glamorize traumas that normal kids go through.
ooh,
Being in middle school is rough. You're going to have an identity crisis throughout high school. It's rough. People pick on each other. It's rough. It should be rough. Don't try to make it easy. Kids pick on each other. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
You got to toughen up. But you can't take that trauma and then say it's because you're in the wrong sex, you're in the wrong body, and then have them perform a surgery or a hormonal replacement that's going to stave off their puberty. That's they'll never be, when they get to 30, I want to have kids. You can't have kids.
yeah.
You're not allowed to do that anymore. That is the problem. It's taking a trauma that kids normally go through, that's a normal part of growing up, and saying this is your solution. And that's when the kids are the most, like, especially from those ages, like even 14 to 22, kids are ready to jump off cliffs for whatever reason.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a
and
hyper
that-
confusing time.
Yeah.
And with this culture, it's like I can't even imagine
And they're
how
just
much
telling
more
them-
confusing it is because
Yeah.
like girls do this stuff in groups now. Like there's a book written by Abigail Schreier. I'm trying to think of the name. But anyway, she talks about how all these young girls they transition together in groups. It's like a contagion almost. And like I'm hearing stories like my dad was telling me one of his friends, his 11-year-old daughter is now of this like opinion, I'm in the wrong body. And it was because she found a group of friends, and all 4 of them are of the same opinion now. And it's like, you're going to, like, in certain states, you might make lifelong changes now. The parents might be forced. I think in Seattle, where they're at, like, there's a potential, like, if you don't affirm these actions, like, you could have them taken from you.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's insane to me that we don't allow kids to vote, but we can have them change their like entire biology forever.
Well, in that same respect, no disrespect to you guys, but in that same respect, when you say you're going through a trauma and all of a sudden you want to change your sex, I know it's surgery and I know it's permanent, but isn't that kind of the same aspect if you're like going through trauma and you're in a gang and you're killing people and all this bullshit,
Very
you go
similar.
to prison,
Very similar.
and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm a new reborn Christian. Now I'm facing religion. I'm gonna be a good person.
What do you mean
can't-
by that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like you go through trauma, then you change your life, just like they go through trauma and they change their sex.
Right.
So-
But like the gang, that is a neighbor. You're growing
kinda
up
like
in
a
an
moral
impoverished.
change.
You're growing up in an
Change.
impoverished neighborhood to begin with. Like your atmosphere, and this is why I brought up Renee Girard. It's the mimesis of a person. It's like what's happening outside of you influences you to believe and to become a certain person. Right? Maybe that's not right. Okay, the gang. Oh, maybe it is right, but it takes a consciousness and a discerning. It's your responsibility. You're a human being. You have to have
Yeah.
that, right?
So you should give a little more context on that. 'cause
On
like,
what, mimesis?
Like mimetic desire. Like a good
Mimetic
example
desire.
is like,
Okay,
you,
yeah,
you
the
kind of like
kids.
you want something, not necessarily because you truly want it. It's because the people around you have it,
Right.
and so you're making these changes because the people around
the
you have it.
Bugattis.
Yeah,
Right. So like 2 kids are playing with toys, right? This one kid, he grabs maybe the unicorn over there just to look at it. He's not really interested in it. He's just grabbing it. Another kid sees him grab it, and he's interested in it because the other kid is grabbing it, right? Now that the kid that's grabbing it, we just wanted to look at it, not very interested in it. He sees the other kid over there is now interested in it. Now he's genuinely interested in the toy. Do you see how that works?
Like Balenciaga shoes, because they're ugly as fuck, but everybody wears them because everybody else is wearing them.
Exactly. Are they actually
They're
good shoes?
fucking ugly shoes,
They're
bro.
just a bunch
and
of
they're not
sheep.
even comfortable.
Right, right.
They're
so
ugly.
So you think about say the impoverished kid. He's growing up in the ghetto. He's
Right.
got to make the money. Whatever. He's got his brother, no father. Let's just say like he's set up for failure, right? Versus the kid in Seattle, right? He's got a mom, maybe 2 moms, maybe 2. Who knows what the hell is going on over there? But he ends up growing up, and he's going through a normal phase of being a kid, of being like, I'm depressed. I don't know who I am in this giant world that I'm living in. And then he's got this narrative being crammed down his throat everywhere. Maybe it's your sex. Maybe it's your sex. So he's just picking up the toy, wondering, man, I kind of feel a little bit depressed. Then the other guy comes in saying, no, this is why you're depressed. And all the other kids are like, yep, I'm doing this too. So then you can see that this trauma that's supposed to go every kid's supposed to go through naturally. Now they're giving them this outlet and this identity to go into and to change who they are, which is, that's where the problem is. That's where the responsibility comes in.
Right.
That's where it is. And that's why they're different. You know, because the gangs are the gangs. They're rolling around that neighborhood. But these are the gangs that are rolling around our free nation of America, right? This is serious. And they're only about like 10% of the population.
He just called trans people gangs. I love that.
They're bullies.
They're
bullies.
fucking bullies, bro. They're mean as fuck.
Call them for what they are.
They're mean.
Yeah.
Not
Really
all of them, because I have a really good friend who's trans. But the one thing that I love about
Of
him,
course.
he's female to male. No, because he knows how I feel about this whole shit. But he's female to male, and my friend's he doesn't call himself a man. He calls himself a trans man. Like, he knows he's transgender. And that's one thing that I loved about
love
him,
that,
because
yeah.
I was like,
Honest about it.
it's honesty. He was like, I'm a transgender. Like, I don't think of myself as a man. I don't feel
My chromosomes didn't change.
yeah, exactly. Like, he's not fucking delusional about it. He's like, I am a trans man. I had surgery. Now I am a man, and I feel comfortable with my body now. And he's going through his transition. He's actually enjoying his life, you know? And there's others where I'm like, you're going through a transition and you're still unsatisfied with your life, and then you're bullying other people to respect what the fuck you're going through. Like, I'm a woman, and I'm like,
They want to be validated.
bro,
Yeah.
put a tampon in your fucking pussy every day for a fucking week, and you tell me if you're a fucking woman, you still want to be a woman. Go through cramps. Like, they say that they go through cramps. They don't go through cramps.
They say they can breastfeed now too. Like
They can have
Bruh,
babies.
I have
I
breast
read that. They
implants,
wanted-
and I can't breastfeed. I'm like, what the fuck makes you think that a boy can lactate?
There's this pill that came out that's supposed to be able to get them to lactate so that way they could actually breastfeed their child.
I couldn't even read
And
the article.
here's a little fun fact I found out probably like almost a year ago. Guys can lactate. So, for example, if there's a single dad and he has a kid, if the kid just sucks on his nipples for like, I'll say 6 weeks, probably like a month, he can start lactating for that kid.
Baby, I'm gonna start sucking on your nipple. I'm gonna test this out.
I'd like to see the quality of that milk. Number one. Like to see what kind of milk we're
That's
getting out of
probably
this.
like
Okay?
we
Like, I
don't have
doubt-
milk right there, because that's
Milk-
first time.
What kind of milk are we talking here? All right.
or if it's even,
Tastes like
or if it's even
almonds.
milk, it's probably
God.
just like the nipple opened up and allowed like some sort of liquid,
Like
to come
some
out.
kind of
'Cause we don't have
secretion?
mammary- we don't have
Are you going to
mammary
grow a
glands.
baby off of this milk? I don't know. It seems like it's. I don't think so. I don't think that the baby's growing from this seed.
That would be super fucking
Well, that's the
weird.
type of comments they make. You know, it's like, what's validating this comment?
Yeah.
What's validating what you're saying? You know what I mean? And that's the type of world we're living in, where no one's sourcing things out. They're not going to this. Like, okay, that makes it okay then. Men can
Yeah.
lactate. What kind of milk's coming out?
That's a
Can a
good question.
baby
That's a
survive
valid
off of
question.
that?
Yeah.
And is it even healthy?
Has
for
it
the
ever
child?
happened before? You know, like
Yeah,
what's
because
going on
I'm
here?
like, women have different hormones. Like, women have different hormones from men to begin with.
Yes. Yeah.
But pregnant women have different hormones from regular women who aren't pregnant. So I'm like, how does a man even lactate what a baby's nutrition would need?
Well, all
I'm like
men
that-
start as a female, and men could also get breast cancer too.
No, I know men
But
can
I
get-
know what you mean, like the production for your breasts for men to produce
I'm saying,
milk.
like,
Mammary,
the
mammary
hormones.
glands. Mammary glands.
Isn't it also based off of what they're putting in their body? Because I actually
there's
knew
a-
somebody
there's a
that's
bunch-
a
yeah.
vegan or something like that,
Well-
or like no, nothing animal. So like he ended up having to have a lot of soy in his diet, and at some point he literally
Very bad
had
for
to
you.
get his
Well,
breast,
soy
like,
is
taken
soy is
out.
an estrogen enhancer. So if you were eating a lot of soy products, you're going to have much higher estrogen. You're crushing your testosterone. So it's very common to have you'll have a high prolactin, which will give you the fatty tissue around your nipples, like gynecomastia.
Yeah.
That'll occur if you eat a lot of
A lot of
soy
guys with
foods.
testosterone have that.
So
Soy foods.
I looked
But-
it up
Yes.
for you guys.
Yeah.
It says, while it is rare, sometimes people who are not pregnant or nursing, including men, produce milk from their nipples. When this happens, is usually a sign of an underlining issue.
Something's wrong.
Well,
So it's pus.
yeah, it's probably pus. Because if you think when a woman has a baby,
just made me sick.
it's disgusting. That's disgusting.
that's why when my sister sent me the article, I can't even open it. I was like, I cannot I don't want to
That's
visualize this.
disgusting.
When a woman has a baby, has 2 different life forms inside of her, and her milk is actually specially designed for that baby.
Yeah.
Okay, it's very similar to like the placenta. It's like that placenta it's got all the stem cells that are specifically created for that baby and that mother and those genetics from the father and the mother together. So when the milk from a mother for her baby is the best milk that baby's ever going to have. It's not the same as someone else's milk or this other lady's or anyone else's, because she created that. Her body understands the genetic makeup and what that baby needs. And that's why it's so important for a mother to breastfeed her kids if you want them to be at the greatest potential that they can have.
Is it weird if another woman breastfeeds your baby?
Isn't that a pretty common thing in the past?
That is really common.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Okay,
is.
so
Yeah.
so one time my ex-husband's mom.
Better than formula.
Well, yeah, facts. Yeah, but my ex-husband's sister, she had just had a baby. The baby was about like a month or two, and my sister-in-law walked in on my mother-in-law breastfeeding her baby.
Without consent, just like.
Yeah, no, this is complete no consent. Had the baby latched on her nipple, and it was like, you're in your 50s, sweetheart. There is no reason for you to have a baby latched onto you. Like, oh, well, no, the baby needed something. He was crying. Then, okay, then grab a pacifier. Put your thumb in there. Like, why the fuck you putting your own nipple in there? Is that weird?
Without
That's
asking,
fucking
absolutely.
weird.
That's pretty weird.
That's what I thought.
Without asking, absolutely. That's
The whole family was like, it's normal. It's normal. It's not a big deal. They're Filipino. But I was like, bro, that's fucking weird. Like, if I saw my mom breastfeeding, I don't have kids, but if I saw
She
my
wasn't
mom,
actually breastfeeding. She was just like, instead of a pacifier, here's.
here's a nipple, an old saggy one, bro. Come on now, like that's fucked up. Like, why would you do that? That's like you. How about if the fucking kid like grows up and learns that his grandma actually put a nipple in his mouth?
well, they're
I'm thinking of the
Filipinos, so
Family Guy
culturally they
episode.
might be okay with that.
Yeah, it's true.
Culturally,
Yeah,
they might be
that's
okay
like
with
a
it.
culture shock to us, though.
But for
Yeah.
them, it's probably okay. And like
Yeah.
the idea is, it's probably better than formula, and you're staying within the gene pool, so it's better than like some the random like what. When in the past, like a rich woman might have like a servant breastfeed her baby.
Is that
That's
like,
very
is that
common.
like a wet nurse?
That is
That's what-
very
wet nurse.
common
Yeah.
in
It was
slavery,
very
too.
common.
Exactly.
That's-
That used to be
was.
common. They didn't have time to sit there with their baby latching. It didn't
There were
happen.
family members, even
Yeah.
in the early 2000s, that would do that because sometimes the mothers couldn't produce enough milk.
Yes.
So then
yeah.
there was somebody else in
Bre-
the family that
breast milk
actually
banks.
was having
Yeah.
a baby that they both had babies or something, but she was still breastfeeding. So then she would either give her some of her milk or she would breastfeed the child. So that way, because it is better than formula. So she's like, I still have milk, so I can either give you some or I can breastfeed your kid for you. So it was common.
So
Yeah.
I,
They actually have breast milk banks where
Yeah, they
there's
do.
a lot of women that have like they produce a lot of milk. They'll donate to the banks for a lot of women that really can't make any milk, and they
My mom used
it's
to
a,
do that.
It's a thing.
you can do
Yeah.
that? I thought.
Some women sell it on
okay, I'm so
Facebook
ignorant because
Marketplace.
I don't have kids. I'm so ignorant. I thought like only my baby could suck on my nipple. Like that's your nutrition. That's it. That's all you get. I didn't know you could share breast milk. Mind blown. Oh my
cool.
god, that
pretty
is
cool.
crazy. How much time do we have, Amber?
We're 1 hour and 12 minutes in.
Girl, I said 45 minutes.
It's a good conversation.
Long count.
Thanks, Amber.
Before we get off, I usually like to ask my guests, what is the best life advice that you have for the general public? Not keep moving forward. I hate that bullshit. Keep moving forward. Don't stop being passionate. All that, that's so boring.
Yeah.
Like my favorite advice is what was it? Expectations are the root to disappointment. Something along
good
those
one.
lines. What is your
Yeah,
guys'
that's a good
best
one.
advice?
I'll probably say kind of because Davrick asked us a similar question. I would say find community. We notice a lot of men, and especially as we're talking with women too. Like a lot of people are doing life alone, or very
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 true.
shallow friendships. It's like find community, find a brotherhood, especially for men. And I think like we're meant for relationships with people and not shallow ones. So
I love
make it
that.
happen.
Yes.
I like that one a lot.
Yes. Yes.
Your turn.
That's great. Attention is a moral choice. What you give your attention to is a moral choice. That's from
Oh.
Juice Merlot.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
That's a
I think
really
that's one of
good
my
one.
favorite ones as of late, with all the information we give.
That's
and
so
take.
true.
Yeah.
And what's yours? What's your best advice?
The saying I always like to quote is that you have two choices in life. You can let the things that happen to you in life either define who you are and change you for the worse, or you can actually grow from them and be better.
I like kind of like when I like people always take that rape story as like a
I was
negative.
just thinking of that.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, I'm like, I was like, no, it's gonna be a positive, okay?
Exactly. You don't you have that choice. People really do. Like, so you can either have the poor woe's me and the pity party. And I mean, I'm not saying like things that people go through are not traumatizing. They are. I've been through stuff in my life that people would be shocked if they knew. But at the same time, it's like nobody knows about it because it's like just like you. I'm like, everything happens for a reason. There was something I was supposed to learn from that and something that I was supposed to grow from that.
Right.
And I'm not going to let it change me and how I treat other people, because what happens is people change their mindset, then they start treating everybody like they're a piece of shit because they felt like they've been shitted on their whole life.
It's like digging yourself a grave. Almost.
Yeah, exactly.
And I won't allow that to happen to me. I'm going to treat everybody the way that I want to be treated.
Exactly.
That's such an important message in today's culture of like trauma guarding, and they put the trauma up on a pedestal.
It's the
part.
victimhood
Well,
Olympics.
yeah, because most
That's what it is.
That was good. That was good.
when if like you said, they make you the strongest. All my traumas, all that stuff toughens you up and makes you into a better person. If you don't have traumas, or if you're trying to get rid of them, or you're trying to guard one so that another one doesn't come in, you're weakening yourself. Suffering
Exactly.
and pain is
Don't be
So
a part of the
focus on what
Wait, what'd you
had
call it,
happened.
Chum?
Focus
Victimhood
on the
Olympics.
things that
Don't
you
be a
gained
part of
from
the
that.
victimhood Olympics,
Take
guys.
positive
Don't be
away from
those
it.
people.
I love that.
Yeah.
Look at us. All right, guys. Well, I will see you guys next. Oh, well, sorry. Where can they find you on Instagram?
At Iron Disciples Podcast.
Yes. And
You
Same
too.
for both of us.
Yep.
same for
Yeah.
both of you
Yes.
guys. And where can they find you?
On
On the cover of a magazine because you look so cute.
it's up there.
it's
It's up there.
right
It's
there,
too long.
guys.
I don't want
right
to spell
there.
it out or say it.
Thanks so much for having us on. This
Yes.
was
No,
a fun
thank you. Oh my God,
conversation.
no, this is one of the best podcasts. That was
yes.
actually a really good conversation. It's
Fun.
very different for
Yeah.
me because interviewing some Christians, oh my God, I didn't think I would ever have that.
And shout out to Black Ice.
Shout out to Black
introducing
Guys,
us.
I
Yeah.
know, for introducing all of us. So thank you guys for coming on my podcast. I appreciate you guys so much. And until next time, guys, we'll see you next time. Bye.
That was great.
That was great. That was long as